Show up and kick ass regardless. This is really important to realize and is an extremely underused principle for both business and your training because they go hand in hand. Put my hands together like that. They go hand in hand because the thing with training, and this is why I say training is so important for all business owners to do. You have to get into the gym. You have to be in shape. Yes, it's going to help with your business performance and obviously how you're feeling, how you're looking, your confidence, how you present, how you come across to other clients or potential clients. That we do know, we are aware of. They go hand in hand and it's important. That's just a given. But where it also is really important is it gets you to put into practice in a physical sense the principles of business that you need to apply long term as well. And yes, you can argue it's a bit more short term, but you get to practice so many things like delaying gratification, being disciplined, not varying for shiny objects, and that side of things. And this is another big one. You have to show up and kick ass regardless. You have to be ready to go on a dime. Like, it doesn't matter how you feel. What matters is what you do, who you are, because what you do in those moments forges you into who you want to be long term. And I think it's really important to realize that for the training side of things, we're putting into practice what we get to do for business. And there is a reason that I said that again, but it has slipped my mind if I'm being honest. We'll circle back around to it if it's important. But when it comes to this side of things, showing up and kicking ass regardless, it's a very underutilized principle both in training and in business. Because in training, you can be tired, you can be like feeling great and everything in between. But you need to show up and outdo what you did last time. You need to set PRs. You need to beat whatever numbers you did last time. That's the goal. And when you switch into that mindset, it doesn't matter how the perfect pre-workout or the warm-up routine that you had and everything like that. All that matters is getting it done. Because you're like, well, I don't have to be in the perfect condition. My condition is as it is now, how I feel, and that's perfect. So I'm going to go for that and show up and kick ass regardless. And it's really important to do that because that way, as soon as you switch into that mentality, you start to you can have a great session and outdo everything that you've done before. Same goes for business. You got to show up regardless. You got to show up and pretty much strive to do better than you did before, even on your worst day. So it's like, on your worst day, how are you showing up? Because that is also the great thing about that. That's your baseline. So if you set a super high baseline, think about how the good days are going to be. And if you don't give yourself that excuse of, I'm not feeling it today, I'm not quite up to where I want to be. Because that is one of the biggest things that gets in our way, is our feelings. So by putting it into practice in the gym, you get to just basically set into motion this mentality. And because this is the point I was going to make before, so many of us are kinesthetic. We are primarily learners through doing, like not through seeing, not through hearing. We can learn kind of that way, but we learn through doing. And that is where the gym is so powerful, because you get to do. You get to do and put into practice these business principles that otherwise, they would just be theoretical. You kind of do it with your business stuff as well, but it's quicker. You can get in the gym, you start seeing results, you start pushing yourself, and then that carries over to when you are actually doing the business side of things. So you've got to set that standard. It's like setting the standard, setting a baseline for yourself. How do you show up on your worst day? Because that's just as much a part of the journey as how you show up on your worst day. Because if you're only able to perform when you're at your best, you're not going to make it, because we don't all have great days. It's like Joe Rogan's said before, it's like 80% of the sessions you have, maybe it wasn't Joe Rogan, but 80% of the sessions you have will be normal or like average, so. 10% or 15% will probably suck ass, and maybe 5% will be top notch, excellent, perfect condition. If you only wait for that 5%, you're missing out on 95%. Or at least even if you don't show up during the times when it's like the 15%, these are just rough numbers, but the 15% where you feel like poo-poo, especially when business is hard, it's hard to show up and be like, I'm going to train today, when you've got a lot on your plate. But if you choose not to show up in those moments, that's 15% that you're reducing things by. Think about cutting your profits by 15%. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. It's $100 versus $85 if we're just simplifying it down to that kind of thing. It's a big difference. $100,000 versus $85,000. Big differences there. So you have to show up and forge that standard essentially in those moments. Because if you don't, you're pretty much just choosing not to show up for yourself. And it's really important to do that for the long-term health of your business and your family. And I'll go a quick little tidbit with this. When it comes to the energy side of things, if you're trying to hold energy in and be like, nah, I can't, I've got to do this a little bit more business-wise, I have to do a little bit more, I've just got this task, there's so much stuff to do, I won't go to the gym today, I'll go tomorrow, then you're pretty much just putting yourself in a position to not have more energy. You're putting yourself in a position where you're only diminishing energy because you think you're not allowing any to go out, but as a result, you also don't allow any energy to come in. But when you're like, yes, I'm going to do everything that's required, this is similar with money. It's like if you don't allow any money to flow out because you're so scared and you need to save, you don't allow any money to flow in. It's like keeping the lid on a jar. But the cool thing about our bodies, the way it works, our bodies, our minds, our spirits, our souls, when you take the lid off of that jar, you allow money and energy to flow out. You go training, you go spend money on investing in yourself, but you also allow money to flow in. You allow energy to come in when you go train. You allow money to flow in when you have that relationship with money. And as a result of that, you expand that jar. The capacity of that jar increases significantly, and it keeps increasing. That's the kind of mindset that all these millionaires, billionaires have, is they're cool with money. It's just a tool, but that they have massive capacities for money flowing in and flowing out. But when you keep it stuck there, you're allowing yourself the jar to stay like this big. That's how big the jar is. That's it. When you keep the cap on it, when you keep the lid on it. And it's just a major limiting thing that we see with business owners, especially when you're going through large periods of growth. That's when you've got to be like, I've got to get into the gym, because it's like you getting to put into practice, I'm going to show up and kick ass regardless to make millions. Hope that helps. Keep it gravy, baby. Catch you guys on the flippity flip. Let's go.